Football Then and Now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.
A warm welcome. This is episode 46 of Football Then and Now, a nostalgic look at football and also current topics as well, which we're going to speak about today. Chris, welcome back, mate. Welcome back. Been waiting for you to come back on. How are you doing, man? How's things?
Yeah, not too bad. You know, as you get, obviously been speaking previously to you, just been signed off work. So need some Chris time, I think. So what I've been told. So. Well, this is fine. This doing this is perfect medication.
Absolutely, it serves a purpose. You know, we say about football, but you know, it's helped. It's helped us along the way, hasn't it, mate? Because the mind's a bad thing when you're in your own thoughts, isn't it? You know, but this is why we do it. This is the premise of it. This is why we do it, mate. But yeah, just. You need to take your time, mate. Absolutely. A big thank you to Rox Ferry. That was the tune in the background to the intro there from New South Wales, doing good things all over social media. And we can't get done for copyright with it either because they're not signed to a big label. So just change the intro for us today. Chris, on this day in football history, your segment, of course, is back. And you've got a fantastic one this week on this day. And I'll let you take it away, mate.
Well, it's you know, a big one in, you know, as a player, you know what I mean? Sir Stanley Matthews, you know, what can't you say about the man? So can't get my words out there. What a fledgling career he had. You know, the fact that, you know, he started at Stoke, obviously they've got a big statue outside of him at the Britannia. I've obviously seen that for myself. I went there many years ago with my dad to watch Stoke versus Valencia, and I think it was in the last year of the UEFA Cup. I think it was. But yeah, you can't say much that's not a bad thing about Stanley Matthews. All round fantastic. Had a fledgling career, as you know, Stuart. You don't really, you know, I mean, when talking about legends of the game, Stanley Matthews doesn't really get mentioned as much, does he? Would you say?
It's madness. He played till he was 50 years old. A gentleman of football. Because when it started getting dirty into the 70s and stuff, we've spoken about Leeds and Chelsea. You could be a gentleman, and he exuded gentleman in football. Imagine that. Imagine we had gentlemen in the game today. That's what I take away. But he played up until he was 50. He finished up at Toronto.
Yeah, that's it.
It's mad. It's mad. No one plays to 50, do they? Unless you're that Japanese goalkeeper that's still going well into his 50s and playing. But yeah, mad. Absolutely mad, the longevity, wasn't it, at that time, Chris, for a legend like him?
We got to look at, like, you know, I mean, you know, as you say, he went to Toronto. He was on loan, wasn't he, from Blackpool to Toronto before obviously he made that move. And I don't think he played that many games at Toronto. I think it was about 5 or 6 games, where he must obviously realise at that point that maybe, you know, his legs weren't in it anymore. But, you know what I mean? You've got to look at that, you know, his you know, how many games he played and how many goals he scored. You know, he played 717 games and scored 71 goals. You know, his career started in 1932 and finished in 1965. You know, I just think it's a madness. And as you say, you know, he played till he was 50. You know, but I just still go back to he's not spoken about enough, is he really? You know, as a player, because, you know, I know that Stanley Matthews was a fantastic, he was an attacking right midfielder, wasn't he? Well, just a midfielder, right? I suppose back in those days it wasn't as abbreviated as an attacking mid, but you know what he did for Stoke and Blackpool, because don't forget he played more games for Blackpool than he did for Stoke, even though he's a Stoke legend. You know what I mean? He's also a Blackpool legend. But he doesn't get spoken about enough. You know, we hear about all the other players, you know, that have been and gone from his era. and I don't need to mention names because we hear about them all the time, but you don't hear, don't forget, it's Sir Stanley Matthews. It's not just Stanley Matthews. He was a Sir, wasn't he? He just didn't get a mention. And, he was an outstanding player. And, it shocks me when I looked at his career, that he never went to a bigger club after, between Blackpool and Stoke. It was between Blackpool, Stoke, wasn't it, and Toronto. He didn't go to United's, he didn't go to Liverpool's, he didn't come to an Everton, at that point, because we weren't too bad, were we? We're an Arsenal. He stayed around, what would you say, the Midlands in a way, wouldn't you? Well, Blackpool's a bit further up than Stoke, but he didn't move on to a bigger club. So I've got to give him props for staying within that.
Great having this segment back, of course. And as you say, I think if he'd been around maybe 20, 30 years later than he was as well, when the game had changed and stuff like that, he was prevalent, of course. But like you say, probably people are aware of him, of course they are. But yeah, he could have been on a higher pedestal for sure. Crazy. But yeah, I go back to that with it. It's like if he'd have been around later, around the George Best times, around that sort of area, then you're looking, he'd probably be even more well-known. But yeah, fantastic segment. Great having it back, Chris, and great having you back, obviously.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate
it's been brilliant. It's been brilliant and a fantastic one. And we look forward to the next segment, of course. Chris, I'm just going to go into the FIFA World Club Cup because you brought it to my attention.
Yeah.
There is a lot of money at stake for this summer tournament. Of course, the whole format's changed. It will be every 4 years with the FIFA World Club Cup. We used to get it into like December, January time, didn't we? That's when they used to do it. It's a total change. 32 teams fighting out across all the different continents, of course. Just crazy amount of money, but FIFA are involved, of course, so we've come to expect it, and it's major. There's been a lot of talking points. You're gonna have to have massive squads for this. How many players are gonna do pre-season matches? I don't think they are. Your mainstays, your first teamers. That's what I take away from this. But yeah, you just wanted to bring this up, didn't you? And it was in the news yesterday, of course, and still being talked about today. So yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, it was just the sheer amount of money. I was listening to it on Sky Sports News, and then they were obviously discussing that they were putting $1 billion into this competition. A proper revamp, as you just said, where it was in November, December times. And we've seen Liverpool, haven't we, win it, in Real Madrid. Probably more Real Madrid because they've won the most Champions League in the last 5 or 6 years. But it's been quite an easy competition, hasn't it? Because usually they play a South American team, don't they? And then they roll into the final against another South American team. Because you'd imagine, the likes of River Plate or maybe, I don't think, Flamengo or something like that. I'm not sure they're still the mainstays in their league. But they'd face off against one of the European elites for winning the Champions League. So this is better in the terms of making it more of a standout competition, and it's good for, as I said there, the South Americans, the North Americans, the Saudi Arabia leagues, the China leagues, whoever's decent enough that they've picked from those countries, going to get a mix in with the European teams, which is fascinating because everyone's getting a rub of the green. I don't know how much money they're making for even just being in the competition.
I think the set rate for all these teams, they come in at 10. I think it was 10 million before you've done anything, before a ball's been kicked.
Right.
That's your set amount. They all get the same amount as well. It doesn't matter where you're from, what standing you got, what you've won across the different.
And then it's 100 million if you win it, isn't it?
That's what you come out with as winners. Yeah, across that prize money.
Which, if you look at it, for Spanish, Italian, and French teams, who are in this competition, and you know yourself, I think everybody knows that these three leagues are struggling financially as a whole. I wouldn't say it's a 300 million, but 100 million for just winning a competition. It's there's not much at stake at the moment because we say it's reborn, hasn't it? So it's in its early infancy as a competition. Will teams take it seriously? But at the same time, you're walking away with 110 million. If you win it and you get the 10 million for it being in the competition, I think it's it's great. But what I'll say is, does this diminish the Champions League a bit?
It could very well do. It's over a month, 64 games. So I mean, at least we've got something during the summer.
Well, yeah. I feel sorry for the players.
Yeah, it's crazy. You have to have the squad. And again, the teams, no disrespect, Brazil, years ago, the teams were feared going into some games. I remember United being in it when they were in it after winning the Champions League in 2000. It was like, you had like Orlando Pirates, was it maybe in there?
Yeah.
The Brazilian teams, they're not going to have the squads that the European clubs have got. I think it's going to be one of the European clubs that wins it, isn't it? Surely, I'd be very surprised if not. But it's just I'm looking forward to it. I've got to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to it as well.
It's a good case for the talent in different countries. We say in Brazil, and we know that there's a lot of youngsters in Argentina and Brazil, and I'm going to mark those countries because they do have a lot of the talent. They get swallowed into Europe. Potentially, world class, potentially world class now. So it's a good sort of stand for them, isn't it? They're on a main stage. The players that are coming through from these countries that that they could get noticed, not do get, because they will get noticed if they play. This could help them move then on to another team. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it, it's like it's basically a competition, but potentially like a shop window.
100%. It's showcase your talent, and we know with Charlie Alcaraz, literally that deal will possibly 50 million. There's deals to be had here, and look at how well he's done, and you'll be able to see players that you don't necessarily see or know of, because there's so much football now. It's hard to keep tabs on everybody and all this young talent. But it is like you say. It's a transfer window. It's a shop window, definitely for the clubs. Again, FIFA are going to get it in the neck regardless of what they do. But if it was Everton in it, say for argument's sake, from our perspective, you're going to want to be in it, and it's the money and the revenue, and also I think the tournament is free on DAZN. If I remember, I'm reading rightly. You don't have to have a subscription on DAZN. It'll be shown for free. So obviously, FIFA have done a deal with them. I was reading just some small print earlier. So, you're going to be able to access it. And I assume that's DAZN across the world. It's not just in the regions. So it's going to be available to everybody, isn't it? And I'm assuming ITV or BBC will have highlights, one of the two over here as well.
So it with DAZN.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. It's going to be interesting. Chelsea being in it as well. Maresca's building that squad, so it's major for them, isn't it? How will City do? That's the thing, because it hasn't gone to plan this year, has it, as such? But again, he's integrated more players in January. So, yeah, it's going to be exciting, absolutely. And also, they're going to be testing a lot of the stadiums that are going to be at the World Cup, like they do for the tournaments, the Confederations tournaments as well. They're going to be soft trying the stadiums ready, because MetLife's obviously got the final. I've had the honour of going to there for the wrestling, so I know how good that stadium is. See, NFL stadium, that will host the final, and it's there for the World Cup as well. So they're trying everything out, aren't they, logistically? So we're trying to encapsulate everything into here with this. But it's the money, it's the prize money. It's
100 million, isn't it?
It's otherworldly.
300 million. Like I said, it's not free per se, but it's a profit in the bank, and especially, as I keep saying, for the Spanish and the French and Italian teams, where their clubs don't have the same amount of money as our country's football teams do to go out and spend in the summer. So you imagine, let's say a Lens wins it. For example, I don't even know if they're in it, but just say, for example, because they've been doing quite well in Ligue 1, and that 100 million is profit straight in the bank, and then that's 100 million they can spend in the summer. Straight away, as soon as that competition finishes, they've already eyeballed a few players that have played and showed up at the tournament. I mean, it can go that way, but also I think it helps for other scouts from other clubs that can go to this competition and and actually see the players, in the flesh. And I know it's a good idea, but it does for me say, does it tarnish the Champions League? And
it's valid. It's got validity. It has got validity. But I think we're gonna soon see, but I think everyone's kind of got used to the setup of the Champions League now. This new format that came in, we were a bit skeptical initially. I think it's gone well. I was speaking to John and Brady about it previously on the previous episodes over the last couple of weeks, but I think it will be okay. I think it was still Champions League is. It's got the name value, the brand, doesn't it? It's been the brand for so many years, but it's valid. It's valid what you're saying. We've just got Lazar in the comments here. It's obviously from Brisbane in Queensland in Australia. Great that there is more opportunities for players, but would you say less stars with the current setup of football? It's going to showcase people that you don't know as well. Though, like Chris is saying, it's going to have the magnifying glass on talent and. Yeah, you're going to see the top players though as well. So no, I think it's going to be interesting, Lazar. What do you take away from that, Chris? What Lazar's saying?
Well, it's definitely like what we said. It's going to be an opportunity for a lot of young talent that are within these teams that wouldn't normally get a look in with on the scouting maybe a couple of times, but you're looking at what a good billion people when they watch the World Cup are going to watch this, aren't they? Because your team from a different country could be in this, and they're playing Real Madrid for example, and that blows your mind. If you're supporting, say, Boca Juniors and you're playing Liverpool or something like that, all these people are going to watch it. So these players that are coming through the ranks, I'm sure they'll get a go if they're good enough. You're on stage, and then you've got every club. I imagine are going to bring the best players with them. Because obviously, it sells, doesn't it? The marketing. You think of what all these clubs are going to bring to America when they do this. It's just they're not just going to make the money that they're getting paid for to be in this competition, but the merchandise sales. It is going to be amazing. And I don't think America have had anything this big since '94 when they had the World Cup.
I'm just looking at some of the venues as well here. It's like literally they're even going to DC United's Audi Field, which holds 20,000. Cincinnati as well. They're going to Ohio, 26,000 there. Nashville, Tennessee, 30,000. So there's a range. There's a real range here of capacities throughout the tournament as well. So, it's all over America. It's literally all over America. And it is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and a lot of people are going to watch, of course. And yeah, we look forward to it. I'm looking forward to it, Chris.
I think it'll be a good breakdown for us to do when the competition's on this year. I'm just looking at some of the teams that are in it, and we've got a South American team. You got the Sundowns are in there. Obviously, the Saudis are obviously got quite a fluctuated of players in there. Just looking through now, trying to spot some teams that are in America. They got Seattle's in there, Stuart. Monterrio's in there. You got a few Mexican, Club Leon's in there.
I'm looking for a group of death as we do with these things, like we've done with international teams.
Have they done the groups for it yet? Have they? I imagine that's going to be after the Premier League.
No, they've got it. They've got them. They did the draw, didn't they? They did the draw.
Oh, I missed it.
Bayern, Boca, and Benfica with poor Auckland City in there as well. That's a group. Okay. That's a group and a half. That is like looking through. That to me, I'm scanning through, of course, because like you say, we're going to cover this in more.
Yeah, I'd have to say we cover it when it's on. Yeah,
that is jumping out at me. There's going to be some games in there. Benfica, although they got knocked out by Barcelona last week in the Champions League, they've been good. They've been good in the tournament, so they're always solid. They're always a solid team. But it's going to be amazing. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena is getting used as well, which was the venue for the '94 final. Sorry, not finally.
It'll be interesting to see that again. Many decades on. Like so,
they know how to do stuff over there.
Can give props
the way it's organised, it's like crazy. It's crazy. I'm surprised they're not using the 49ers stadium because I've been there. It is amazing. It's one of the best stadiums I've ever been to. But they've picked the ones they've picked, so we look forward to that. And I'll just move us along. Just obviously, Thomas Tuchel named his squad last week. People have been not too happy, a bit displeased with some players not getting in there. I'll say two that I felt should have been in the squad: Hudson-Odoi and also Morgan Gibbs-White. I think they've done enough to get in there. But again, they're playing Albania, they're playing Latvia. I think he's gonna do two separate squads personally. I think on the next ones, in the next games, I think you'll see a total different squad, or you'll see the ones you haven't seen in this squad will come into the next one. Dan Burns getting slated, and then he goes and scores that goal in the cup final, and I just think he's versatile as well because he can play fullback. Obviously, he's back in centre back at the moment. It was always going to be sticky with football fans, isn't it? People are going to have stuff to say about the selection. I'll pull it up now as well. Obviously, it was last week when it happened. But yeah, what did you think with who he's selected? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm obviously straight away going to be biased here. Quinza, the Liverpool defender, why is he over Branthwaite when he's played hardly any games comparison to Branthwaite? Confuses me, and I'm sorry. Again, I'm not being biased. I'm looking at it as a football head here, and it's not Everton versus Liverpool players. Branthwaite's a better player, and I don't get why he's not in the team. But as you say, this could be him trialing out certain players. I think Dan Burn does warrant it, because he's been fantastic for Newcastle for a good couple of seasons now. And the man's played in the Champions League, Stuart, so he knows what it takes to play against top quality players. And he did keep, PSG quiet at left back. And I think he was up against Mbappe at that point as well. So, he's got experience playing in tougher competitions. And why not give him a go? Who else have we got really defence-wise?
Do you agree with Jordan Henderson being there? That was a sticking point. This in. He's 35 now. He's not been around the setup. He went to Saudi. He went to Saudi. It didn't work out. He's at Ajax. That was a point of contention. Him being in there as well. He's been getting it in the neck. People are saying give it to someone younger now. He had his years, under Southgate and stuff like that. So that was another one that's been pulled up across the media and football fans alike. They're not happy about it, Chris. And I'm just looking through again. It's like I would have gone for Watkins as well, personally. But I think it's going to be two totally different squads for the next batch of fixtures.
I think with Jordan Henderson, and I don't agree he should be in the team now because I think he's past it. And the only thing I can remember recently with Jordan Henderson when he was trying to force to move to Monaco, and that fell flat on its arse. But if you remember the amount of stick he got from the Dutch press, for trying to orchestrate that move, even he denied it, but it was quite out there that he was trying. The only other sort of thing I can say the why he's there, we haven't got a good structure of midfielders, central midfielders, have we? You got Declan Rice, but who else in midfield there is any good? To partner Declan Rice, because Calvin Phillips gone off the boil. Obviously, Jordan Henderson's 35, but can you tell me anyone off the top of your head that plays that role?
It was for so long, and his career's gone by the wayside. It was Calvin Phillips, but then people said he was overrated anyway when he was in the team. It was him and Rice. It was him and Rice centrally, wasn't it? I know his form, and he's at Ipswich, and they're struggling. So understand why he's not anywhere near it, and he's had his injuries and stuff like that. It's a glaring area for them, isn't it? But again, I just think he's going to pick these guys on this one, and you'll probably see some of the same names in the next squad, and then he'll bring other people in. Morgan Rogers, if we're going to bring some positives out of the ones that have been picked. What a signing he's been for Villa. We've had Brady on several times, big Villa fan. Rogers, even from the outside looking in, as we're not Villa fans, he has been brilliant and an absolute snip for 16 million from Middlesbrough. What a great bit of business, and he's done it in the league, he's done it in the Champions League as well. He fully deserves it. But I think Gibbs White should be in there, Chris, as well. I think Gibbs White's been fantastic for Forest.
Yeah,
and again, as I said earlier, Callum Hudson-Odoi as well. With Branthwaite, Chris, just going on to that because you brought it up and it was perfect to bring it up. I think he said he hasn't overlooked him. He knows the talent he's got, but he'll get a lot of minutes for the under-21s. I'm trying to bring a bit of positivity from it, because he will start for the under-21s. I know we want to see him for the senior squad. I totally get what you're saying, but at least he'll be picked for the under-21s. He can keep proving himself, and I think Tuchel will bring him up. From what he's got his eyes on him.
Yeah.
What do you think about that with him playing for the under-21s? What's your thoughts?
Just think he's surpassed that now. I think, we see him week in, week out. Not everyone who may not watch Everton week in, week out, and I completely understand. I wouldn't, force anyone to watch us. You know what I mean? The last couple of games, obviously, since David Moyes back's been brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but it's a hard watch, isn't it? But the lad's quality, and the lad's got it all. He's had a bit of a sticky start to the season, but he was injured, and then we had all the crap with Dyche, didn't we? And he kept on, just not being there, where he was last season in terms of on the ball and tackling, and he did make a few mistakes here and there. But you're seeing it now. He's back in, full fitness. I just think he's got it all. And obviously, I'd love to keep him, but I feel like, destiny always will tell where we are at the moment. We will end up losing him. And we'd be disappointed, but it's not one you'd hate for, because he warrants to push to the next level. I hope that would be with us, and we'll see what happens in the summer. But I just think at the time is, you're playing lower less teams in Albania, and did you say Latvia?
Latvia's the second game on Monday. So
these are the type of teams you can throw on.
This is, you bringing that up is perfect, because that is what people were saying. It's not as if you're up against France or Italy.
Germany.
Not to overlook them, because European teams,
they're better. Yeah,
better from when you go back to like the 90s and the 80s and stuff. There's more depth, but yeah, I totally take what you're saying. He can test things in these games where he necessarily couldn't if we were taking on the top end sides. So
I want to ask you this as well. As we're on terms with England now, I'm on obviously the topic, sorry. Does Kane start for you?
He has to, and also, someone was saying, well, who's going to be captain? Well, Tuchel had Kane at Bayern.
They did.
Let's not forget, Kane will be captain. There's no two ways about it. He managed him for a year. Look how many goals Harry Kane scored. And yet again, the people saying he's not won anything. Bayern, although they drew on the weekend, and Leverkusen won, which they've cut the gap to 6 points, Kane is consistently scoring. I think Bayern are going to win it this year after losing it last year, because it was catastrophic for them, wasn't it? And they're still in the Champions League as well. I'm not ruling out anybody. A lot of people are looking at Real and PSG as the winners. But Bayern are going on all fronts this year, and I think Kane has done it again, scoring the goals there. And he's going to get a trophy. I guarantee it.
That's what to say to you.
I guarantee
You're telling me that Kane's going to have a trophy.
And that'll shut up a lot of people, won't it?
Yeah, it will. Yeah, but it's not Premier League, though, is it?
He's Mr. England. He's Mr. England, and he's been brilliant. Anyone who says any different, they can have their opinion, as we say.
No, I completely agree.
He's been superb. His stats speak for themselves. He's just unlucky at Tottenham that they never got anything, So, yeah, it's got to be Kane captain, hasn't it? You were asking me. I'm gonna ask you.
Well, I agree with what he's done at Bayern, and he just showed you that he's a class striker, because he's gone there and doubled his goal scoring from when he played in the Premier League, and he was top goal scorer 9 times out of 10, wasn't he? When he was here, and he was. I would say he's playing with a Tottenham side. We're a lesser team with players now. So I'm not saying that they're a less. Well, in terms of trophies, you can say so, yes, but he's playing with better players at Bayern, and I think he's more the main man, isn't he, at Bayern? But, he's got a lot better players. I don't think the league is as hard as it is than it is for the Premier League, but he's still scoring goals. I would have liked to see him play for one of the bigger top forwards in the Premier League, because I think people overlooked him playing for if Man City got hold of him that season before they got Haaland, I think he would have scored just as much as Haaland has. If not more, Stuart, because the man seems to be in the right place at the right time a lot of the times. He should start for England, but what I want from him is a better performance than he did when we played in the Euros. Because I don't know whether he's tired or, because I know the whole team wasn't at it. It wasn't just Harry Kane. The whole lot of the team, the players, probably bar Jude Bellingham, who seemed to be carrying England through a lot of the games in the Euros. He was off the boil, wasn't it? And it did give you concerns. But as you say, this season so far, he's a goal machine, and England need a goal machine still if they still want to attack these the World Cup coming next, obviously.
It'll be interesting to see tactically as well. He's only had them in, hasn't he? He's only took the role on from like the 1st of January officially. I know it was announced. What was it, November?
It was
after the qualifiers, after Carsley. So Tuchel, it'll be interesting to see how it. He's class. He's class. There's no two ways about it.
He is class.
Again, he was cut short at Chelsea.
I mean, he could have gone longer. Chelsea, you're talking about a team that is almost as bad as Watford at this point. You know, when it comes to managers, and we know how bad Watford are.
Oh my days, yeah, absolutely.
But listen, we'll see. We'll see if he's the right fit for England, won't we, this week.
Again, it's curtailing momentum with the Premier League. Some people hate international football. They hate when it's sandwiched in. But I'll watch, and I'll be looking out for Wales, of course. They play Kazakhstan, which is, I think it's Saturday. So Craig Bellamy, obviously, 3 wins, 3 draws so far. Top the Nations League in the end. After it looked like Turkey were going to run away with it, and they caught them, and a fantastic start. No Aaron Ramsey in the squad. I know he's getting on now. He's been playing for Cardiff prior to the injury, but it'd be interesting, Brennan Johnson and the lads, of course. So I'll be looking very much forward to that in the qualifiers. Yeah, he's got so much talent, mate. He's got so much talent. And they've had a really good start under him, so we look forward to that as well. Just want to talk briefly about Wales because obviously the big thing was Tuchel, and this team has been dissected to the nines. Why is Kyle Walker in there? I've heard that one as well. There's always going to be opinions. It's just how it is. And we just navigate ourselves through, don't we?
Let him pick his team. Let him go through it. Yeah, obviously, I'm annoyed at Brantford. He hasn't got in because I just think the time is now for him. But whatever, I've obviously affronted my frustrations. But in hindsight, let Tuchel do what he needs to do. I'm sure come competition year, he'll have a much better idea of what his team's going to be, minus injuries at the time. But, we'll see the players that we think should be in there by the time we go into World Cup year.
Absolutely. I'm just going to do a pause for the cause as well. See, we are with the Sports Social Podcast Network, as you can see in the top right there of the screen. And Chris, 500 partners and counting, of course. And they've been fantastic with us. We always say, if you've got a sports podcast and you're not affiliated with anybody, go to these guys. Your content is put up. You don't pay to list your episodes in audio form as well. That is all covered. You put adverts in, don't you, Chris, into the show in audio form. That's how they do it. That's how they get the revenue. And you can post as much or as little content as you want. And yeah, we've been very well looked after, of course. And just before we come out of this, it's just to say thank you to them guys, Chris.
I think we need a new banner because I'm sure they're well over 500 by now.
I did have a look, and there's nothing new since. I keep looking. I always look every week.
They changed the bloody logo, but they haven't changed the banner.
And I thought we'll have them front and centre there in the top corner. Normally we have our logo up, but I thought they've been brilliant. They've been absolutely brilliant. But yeah, just as we always say, if you've got a sports podcast, go. These guys are great. Under the Kosh, which is a fantastic football podcast, they're with them. I'm trying to think. There's others. I think Jimmy Bullard's show is on there now that he does with Fenners as well. Obviously, Soccer AM fame Fenners. So there's just huge people on there, and your fan ones, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's big names doing them, and they've got a litany of people on there. And even if you want to browse and look for podcasts, isn't it? Go on the website, check them out, and check out all the guys. Absolutely. Chris, we will be back with an episode about our Champions League memories. We've been formulating this for several weeks now.
Yes, we have.
That will be episode 47. A bit going back to nostalgia, as we like to do. We like to intermingle it. And you've picked a couple of games. I picked a game, and I've picked a team as well. But we won't go into that because I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, we don't ruin it yet.
No. We got it
we'll
all
spread that out when we
absolutely. We have been Football Then and Now, episode 46. Great having you back, Chris. And
great
having on this day in football history, Sir Stanley Matthews, the man, the legend. Great, absolutely brilliant, fantastic. And we will see you very, very soon for episode 47 of Football Then and Now. Take care, everybody.
See ya.
Football Then and Now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.